Hey, so let's go back again. Another chapter, another story from the series Macabre Minds, written by Auntie Heart. Remember to use the links in the description, show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Story 12, Scream for Ice Cream. The events that had occurred over the past couple months had been ghastly, to say the least. Now, I'm attuned to the strange being of a single parent, a 4-year-old little Braylon, but I have begun to panic and to question my sanity, or whatever was left of it, after raising a child on my own. I have done things differently, but I have kept a better eye on my daughter. Those questions haunt me, and I wonder with worry whether or not Braylon would still be here if I had answered yes to those riddles. You see, my nightmare began the song. It was a warm summer night, and I was curled up in my cold bed, dozing since I had just put Braylon to sleep. The night was pitch and silent, and I found my eyes were unable to stay open. As I was drifting into slumber, I heard it. It was faint at first, and I thought I might have been dreaming, but the noise grew louder and louder. It was the sound of an ice cream truck's jingle, and in my amused, tired mind, I began to hum along, the pop goes the weasel. It doesn't even dawn on me how odd that an ice cream truck would be driving around at 11 o'clock at night. All around the mulberry bush, all around the mulberry bush. I thought of my childhood, begging cash off my parents, running out after the truck along with the other neighborhood kids. Feeling the sweetness rush to my brain, slamming the front door behind me, giggling like a little girl. I was out of my bed at that point, suddenly alert, adrenaline rushing through my bloodstream. I had never slammed the door before. I was a man. How could I have giggled like a girl? Braylon? I called, and I heard the screen door slam shut again, this time incredibly real. Braylon! I ran down the stairs, sprinting like a cheetah, tripping on the bottom step and eating shit. I rolled over on my back, groaning in pain, holding my wrist, which was clearly sprained. But I still stared on towards the front door, and still my heart beat wildly against my chest. The door was open, and the screen door was flapping in the summer breeze. I got to my feet immediately, agony forgotten, and I rushed into the streets, calling Braylon's name as she were a lost dog. Even though Pop Goes the Weasel still echoed in my ears, the streets were noiseless. Even though every large car I saw caused my stomach to flip, there was no ice cream truck in sight. I rapped frantically at my neighbors' new doors. I asked with dread if they had seen or heard an ice cream truck. I questioned whether or not they witnessed my daughter chasing such a vehicle. Each neighbor, with irritably lacing their words, reminded me of the time told me to go home. My head felt fuzzy. I could feel tears start to well up in my eyes. Where was my Braylon? Next morning, I stumbled over to the local police station and I carefully opened the doors, not wanting to hear them slam. I went over to the receptionist. "How can I help you, Tristan?" Did I recognize her golden curls and icy blue eyes? I couldn't recall. My daughter, her name is Braylon Lydia Gamble. She went missing last night. There was an ice cream truck. I think she may have been abducted. The lady appraised my face with a strange emotion. I think I would call it pity. With a nod of her head, she said, "Okay, Mr. Gamble, I'll get my supervisor." I waited in the room for a good 10 minutes, pacing, talking to myself. How could Braylon have gone missing? This couldn't be happening to me. She was the most important thing in my life. The cutest little girl who ran around with her teddy bear in their arms. She kissed me goodnight at the end of every day. She always told me how much she loved me, and I would return the sentiment with my whole heart. What did I do to deserve this torture? The sheriff walked out of his office, the blonde following just a few paces behind him. "Tristan Gamble, nice to meet you again." I didn't take it. As he went and extended a hand to me, I simply asked, "Who are you? Do you know where Braylon is?" "Ah, I'm Davy Spire, remember?" "No, well, I think you might need to go home, Tristan." I flinched, as though he had physically punched me. What do you mean? What about my daughter? What about Braylon? I need to find her. I need her to go back home. I was on the verge of tears at this point, and the sheriff exchanged a glance with the blonde. "Of course, Mr. Gamble. Here, you can file a report if you want." Reaching into her desk and producing a stack of papers, I mumbled thanks, cast Davy a dirty look, and I filled out the papers with shaking hands. What was I to put? I realized how ridiculous it sounded, but I wrote down the truth. And I watched as the sheriff praised the papers with raised eyebrows. "Well, we'll do what we can, Tristan, but I think you need to go home and rest." I slammed my fist down on the desk, and the blonde jumped. "I can't rest. Where's Braylon?" "Sir, we'll do everything in our power to help you, but you look positively exhausted. You should go home." He was starting to grow annoyed with me, and so I just looked from Davy to the blonde and scowled. "All right, but better find my daughter. I just want her back." "We know, Tristan. Goodbye." I didn't return the statement, and I just stormed out of the police station with a heavy heart. The next few weeks, I wandered about the streets, calling out for my girl, watching as the neighbors cast me worried and exasperated looks. I put up flyers, but every morning I went out to find that someone had torn them down. I printed out more and put them back up with a numb mind. I had not been able to sleep. Every night, just as I was about to drift off to sleep, I would hear the jingle all around the mulberry bush. I would start in my bed, staring at the window with wide eyes. The monkey chased the weasel. I ran down the stairs, taking two at a time. The monkey thought 'Twas all good and fun. I sprinted to the front door. Pop goes the weasel. I threw open the door. Nothing. The streets would be empty, and all of a sudden, absolutely, chillingly silent. Not even the sounds of crickets added accompaniment to the night wind. I would stand frozen in the night in my robe, and I would tentatively call out, "Braylon? Braylon!" Nothing. And everything would stand eerily still for a few moments, as though the whole world had held its breath. Then, out of nowhere, dogs would start to bark. Crickets would begin to chirp, and annoyed neighbors would turn on their lights, peek out their window blinds at me. I was at a loss for what to do, so I dejectedly walked back to my house. However, there eventually came to be something else. When I heard the jingle, I would peek out of my window as though I would see Braylon strolling home. Conversely, I saw something much different. Outside my window, in my driveway, stood an ice cream man. I could tell it was one due to his colorful white uniform and funny little hat. He held an ice cream scooper and smiled up at the house. He didn't just curl his lips, but he showed all his teeth with a wide, toothy grin. I could not see his eyes. They were not covered by the shadows of the night. That made it much more unnatural. First night I saw him, I called the cops. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone outside my house. What's your name? Tristan Gamble. There was a slight pause, and then, "All right, Mr. Gamble, cops are on their way." Thank you so much. When I heard the sirens coming, I watched as the man started smiling, turned, and was swallowed by the darkness. The jingle that accompanied him faded away. I desperately pleaded with the cops to go look for the ice cream man. A couple of them laughed at me, but all four still went to go scope out the neighborhood. Of course, they came back with nothing. No evidence that someone had been in my driveway with a dripping ice cream scooper. No sign of the truck whose music was beginning to give me a headache. The monkey chased the weasel, the monkey chased the weasel. They wrote down a few notes on their pads, told me to keep the doors and windows locked, and they would call me in the next day, see how I was faring. How do you think I'm faring? Braylon's gone. That man took her. Well, we'll do all we can, Mr. Gamble. But you really should get back to sleep. You look horrible. And with that, they left the house, sirens silent, and they drove to the blackness. Over the next couple of weeks, I saw the ice cream man every night outside my window. And every night, I would stare him down, waiting for him to make a move. I even tried calling out to him once, asking him what he had done with Braylon. But he had just smiled wider, turned, and disappeared. Was I going insane? Was I just imagining this very real man standing on my driveway? I did not have answers to these questions, so I began to just ignore the ice cream man. I drew the blankets over my head like I was a child again, and I tried to grab some sleep. It eluded me every time. One night, I was curled up, whole body under the covers, when I heard it. The song. The squealing of brakes. And then the door. With shaking legs, I rose from my bed, crossed over to the window. The ice cream truck was parked outside my house. It was what one would expect an ice cream truck to look like, just as the ice cream truck man was an epitome of his profession. I glared at it and at the ice cream man standing by his truck on my driveway. Why wouldn't they go away? Why wouldn't they let me suffer alone? However, with this little bit of curiosity about Braylon, I walked down the stairs cautiously, that time out front door. The ice cream man was now in his truck, and he stared at me with a large, creepy smile. What the hell? Where's Braylon, you fuck? I made it up to the window, and I was able to reach through it and touch the ice cream man. He was tangible. It wasn't just my imagination. Flinching a bit at my fingers on his strangely cold flesh, he hit the gas and sped up with my arm still caught in the window. I screamed and rolled onto the ground, staring at the pool of blood around me and marveling at the pain like daggers stabbing into my arm. Dogs began to bark, neighbors came out of their houses. This time I ran over to where the shrieks were originating from. Someone must have called an ambulance, or I blacked out then. When I woke up, I was in the stark whiteness of the hospital. The whiteness reminded me too much of ice cream, and I almost burst into tears. I think I might have when I noticed that Davy was sitting in the room along with a larger, older woman with graying hair. Good morning, Davy said when he saw that I was awake. He was still in uniform. Hi. What happened? I had so many questions. Where to begin? I noticed my arm was in a cast. I picked at it with anger. You broke your arm, the woman said. What was I to say? That it was the ice cream man's fault? I stared between the two of them, finally asking, have you found Braylon? Davy and the woman exchanged a knowing look, and the woman finally crossed over to me, put a hand on my good arm. I pulled it away, noting the sorrowful sympathy in her eyes. Where was Braylon?
Hi, my name is Maggie Rangel. I'm the psychologist here at the hospital. I think we need to talk about your daughter, Mr. Gamble.
What? Wait, what is it? What's going on?
Sir, your daughter's dead.
I don't know who told me this. I began sobbing into my good hand, body racked with misery. The news hit hard. If only it ended there.
How did she die?
Mr. Gamble,
Do you remember what happened last year at all? Now, I want you to think very hard about this,
Maggie said. My head was shrouded in the fog. I immediately shook my head, wondering why they had to bring up such an unrelated topic at a time like this. Davy spoke up next. Tristan, Braylon died last year. An ice cream truck ran her over. I helped you back then. Do you remember that? No? That's impossible. Braylon just went missing.
Mr. Gamble, you're exhibiting signs of psychosis. Your daughter died a year ago.
It slowly made sense. The odd looks people would give me when I went to drop Braylon off at school. The even stranger glances I got when I requested ice cream for two. And of course, there were the annoyed neighbors and the missing posters that were always continuously pulled down against my will. Visions of a little girl splattered across the road. The tortured screams of her father. It rang with logic, and yet I did not want to believe it. Had this past year been a living lie? Maggie asked me a few more questions while Davy cast me concerned looks. I answered them with a strangled voice, and I burst into tears when she mentioned I could go to a mental hospital. I refused to sign the papers, and I went home that night, much against the wishes of Davy, Maggie, and the staff of the hospital. Once I was home, I went to Braylon's room. It was pristine, minus a few crayons littered on the ground, and it was as if she had never left. How could my little girl already be dead? Wasn't she just in her room coloring the other day? I went over to a box she kept under her bed, a container that held her many drawings. I leafed through them, not allowing my tears to spill on any of the papers. Most of them were just colorful line drawings of animals and of stick people, but they were still absolutely beautiful to my psychotic mind. But a few drawings had me pause, and my heart began to race. On a few of the papers, there were obvious drawings of the ice cream truck and man. A couple of them even had words written on it with child's innocence. I will translate them so they contain an array of spelling and grammatical errors. However, I could read Braylon's writing as easily as if it were just normal English. He always gives me treats. The ice cream man is so nice. Daddy doesn't know about him, but he always gives me ice cream before I go to sleep. I stared at the last one with a feeling of dread in my stomach. The terror was warranted even further when I heard the jingle right outside Braylon's window. The monkey thought 'twas all good fun. The monkey thought was all good fun. No, I wouldn't accept it. It wasn't real, was it? Braylon died a year ago, and this ice cream truck was just part of the psychosis I had developed. Maybe I should have gone to the mental hospital. I was obviously insane. When the music grew in volume, I hesitantly made my way over to the window. Looking out, I saw the ice cream truck parked in front of my house, and the ice cream man standing in the driveway, moving, holding a large brown paper bag. He crossed the driveway with that horrible smile of his face, and he put the bag on my doorstep. Did I hear the ring of my doorbell? I watched as he turned and went back to his truck, drove off. That bag couldn't have been real. But as I opened my front door and peered out of it, I reached down and picked it up, absolutely tangible in my hands. I took it to my kitchen counter, wondering at the smell that permeated from it. It had the aroma of death. I opened the bag. I blanched. I found a cold but melting popsicle shaped like a head of Dora the Explorer, easily Braylon's favorite show. Throwing the ice cream into my sink with antagonism, I turned my attention to the rest of the bag's contents. I pulled out one of Braylon's nightgowns, a frilly pink one that she had worn all the holes into. I put that down right next to me, starting to tear up. The tears spilled when I removed the head of her teddy bear, followed by its torso and limbs in pieces. It was covered with fresh, sticky blood. I immediately recognized the stench of death. I screamed when I pulled out the last of the bag's contents, and a small piece of paper that had written on the note said, "Braylon still loves ice cream. Pop goes the weasel." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another short horror story from the author, Vanya Shakar. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, and subscribe. Silence. I picked this place because I like silence. I'm a shy person, and I'm not comfortable with the company of other people. They used to say I'm pretty. There was a boy in our village who wrote poems about my rosy cheeks and pink lips. My mother always said that I would be married off to a prince. I have dark brown curls that fall to my chest. It's my parents' death anniversary. I have to go to the village today to pay my respects at their grave. There is no way I will find any means of transportation in this deserted mountaintop. I have to walk to the highway. I'll have to meet people. I don't like meeting people. I don't like any noise. I am on the highway. I can see the sun setting down on the mountains. It's so beautiful. I am rejoicing in the beauty of the twilight when I see a car coming my way. Stepping out of the sidelines, I held out my hand, asking for a lift. The car passes by, and I frown, thinking it won't stop. But it stops at a distance. Anxiously, I walk towards the car. There will be more people in the car. I'm nervous to talk to people. I am conscious of my beauty, and I know I will be looked at with envy by women and with lust by men. I hate having to talk. There is only one man in the car, the driver. He pulls down the window and looks up at me. Can you drive me to the village? I ask. He nods and opens the door. I sit on the front next to him. Surprisingly, he doesn't stare at me. Neither does he talk. I am relieved. I like silence. I look at him. He must be in his late 20s, broad shoulders and strong, muscular arms. I realized I must be lurching. I quickly look away. Suddenly, I didn't realize that I dozed off. And when I woke up, it was already dark. It took me a second to gather my thoughts. I could feel the car moving, but it was too dark to even see my own hands. There were no headlights, and it was a no moonlight. When my eyes adjusted to the dark, I was shocked to see that there was no one in the driving seat. The car was driving itself. I tried to shout, but no sound escaped my mouth. The doors were locked, and the windows won't roll down. I watched helplessly as the car drove off the cliff with me still inside. I kept falling down with the car deeper into the valley, and then I felt his hand on mine. It gave me a devilish grin as he savored watching me die. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story. Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again. Another short story for you guys, written by Vivian Justin. Remember to leave the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, and subscribe. Story 6, Sky. The city of Monroe woke up to a stormy morning. Rain pounded the windows from all directions. Trees were bent, and the thinner branches were broken. Power was also out in many places. A storm of this magnitude had not been seen in years. Jamie and his family took shelter in the basement living room. The two young children were very scared. Jamie was most worried about the windows and the surrounding trees. The fierce winds had stopped and the rain had stopped, so Jamie and his family went upstairs in peace. Jamie looked at the damage. His house had escaped unscathed, with only some damage to the garden. Jamie stood on the porch. He was amazed at the sky. It was a blood red. Passers-by watched in horror as the raindrops, now red, fell on the road. Everyone immediately looked at his body, dripping red rain. The sky was getting gloomier. Jamie gasped for air. The children ran to him, but he shooed them off. One by one, he stepped off the steps and walked beside the bewildered crowd. He heard everything. Someone shouted that the gates of hell had opened. Others thought the unusual phenomenon was a curse from God because people were living in sin. Someone else wanted to draw parallels with meteorology. The man looked at the blood-colored rain that gathered in the palm of his hand.
and was slowly overflowing. He clenched his fists and stared at the rain dripping down his hands, as if it wasn't real. A golden crack, about 1.5 meters across, appeared in the sky. Everyone watched with open mouths. Some people ran away, trying to escape the kill, while others had their feet rooted to the ground. The crack widened, and 4 riders stepped through. The horsemen were covered in a black shroud. Their horses were skeleton. They descended to the ground, and from there, the men fled in a frenzy. One of the horsemen drew a long, sharp sword from under his cloak and made a very eerie sound. He struck the sword against the road, which immediately split in two. Several men fell in. The horsemen pointed their fingers at one man, and they immediately lit up. In a snap, they were reduced to dust. Jamie rushed into the house, and with 2 children in his arms, hurried down the cellar. They locked themselves in as he worked to calm the little ones. One of the men in black stood in front of the mayor. He cut him in half with a swing of his sword. Another set the houses on fires. Next thing you know, the streets were empty. The vast majority were already dead. Others were hiding. Then the rider raised his hand to the sky, clapped his hands. Next thing you know, all who were hiding were seized by the invisible force that led them straight to the horsemen. Jamie and the children cried. The force separated them. The bloody rain became more intense, more frequent. One of the riders lifted the local undertaker high into the air, and with that momentum, threw him into the road. But Jamie could see golden colors running down the cracks in the road. An earthquake followed, and the Jamies were held in the air by a force almost demonic. Suddenly, they heard noises in the distance. Most of the survivors looked in that direction. Many people appeared, but they were no longer human. Their eyes were completely black, and blood was gushing from their tear ducts. They surrounded the riders, and one after another, they picked out the men from the invisible force. Jamie looked worriedly at his children. He looked down and saw below him 2 black-eyed men tearing his neighbor to pieces. Body parts were flying everywhere. Jamie gasped for air. With only 5 of them left, Jamie thought of escape, but the force would not let him move. He looked desperately ahead of him, straight behind the rider's cloak. Their black eyes flicked down at the children. Jamie screamed, but all in vain. Jamie had completely lost all hope. The rider pulled him down between them. Jamie was surrounded by the 4 riders, and behind them were the black-eyed men. One handed him a black shroud. After a few seconds of hesitation, Jamie took it. He adjusted it to himself, and everything he knew about the world, everyone he knew, vanished into thin air, and an unfamiliar feeling came over him. The riders were now 5, and through the crack, they left with Jamie. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story. Yo, what is up, everybody? Sir Esco back again. Another short horror story written by Miss Unicorn 257. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, and subscribe. Story 2. Snow Day. It was a lovely night with at least a foot of snow on the ground. I was watching the news and drinking some hot chocolate. I got up to put my empty mug in the sink when I noticed a guy outside. He was smiling, but he had like this twisted grin that will forever haunt me. It dawned on me when I noticed the knife in his left hand. I grabbed the phone and dialed the police. After that, I looked at him. He got much closer. He started walking towards my door and stopped when he was about a foot or so from the door. But that's when I noticed something. There wasn't any footprints in the snow. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again with another horror story for you guys. This one is titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 1. The house was big, very big. The more the realtor showed Ray around, the more he realized just how great an undertaking it was going to be to bring the old place back to life. But it was a house that Ray wanted in the worst way. For years, the old 2-story had been left abandoned. It was built in the early 1800s and was in dire need of an update. But the age of the house and the wear and tear was not what was keeping the buyers away. "This is definitely the house I saw online," said Ray. "Yeah, it's a bit of a fixer-upper," said Jessie, who was very new to the job and extremely eager to make her first sale. "Which means you really get to make it your own." It's gonna take a lot of work. "Which is why it's priced to sell. You will not find a house in this neighborhood at this size for this price. One might even say it's a steal. Is it not sold yet? Am I right?" "Well, I mean, I do love it, and it is in my price range. That's a huge plus. It has more than enough rooms for you and your family." "Oh, no, it's just me. I used to be married, but not anymore." "Really? This is a lot of house for just one person." Ray didn't respond. "Are you a house flipper?" Something like that. I like to think that I leave a house a little better off than how I found it." "Then this is definitely the house for you." I think I found my new place." There's just one tiny little insignificant detail that I have to disclose to you before we can do any paperwork. What's that? This dwelling is considered a stigmatized property. What does that mean? Well, some people, mostly the superstitious, think this house is kind of haunted. Wait, what? Are you telling me that you're trying to sell me a haunted house? Is that why this place is so cheap? That a bunch of people get murdered here or something? Am I gonna be cursed if I buy this place? Like, I can never leave? Jesse was clearly taken aback by what Ray had just said and was unable to muster an answer. Ray immediately began laughing. Just messing with you. Look, I don't believe in all that supernatural garbage. People hear a creak in the night, or see a shadow on the wall, and assume that means there's a ghost in the house. Believe whatever you want to believe. If it means I'm getting a house for 30% less than market value, then good for me. Ray filled out the paperwork that afternoon, and within only a few days, was moving his belongings into the house. As he was lugging boxes from the moving truck to the house, an older couple pulled up in a beat-up old truck. They quickly made their way to Ray and greeted him just as two people who had known him for years would have.
Ah, so you're the new owner. Yeah, it's a hell of a house. A hell of a house.
Before Ray knew it, the couple had ushered him right into the house.
Looks just like the pictures on the internet. Oh, there's a fireplace.
I'm sorry. Do I know you?
Oh, where are my manners? My name is Estel. This is my husband Warren.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Ray. So, what are you doing here? I just bought this place, so if you're interested in it, I hate to tell you, but you're a little too late.
Oh, we're not buyers. We just have a fascination with old houses like yours.
Warren pulled out a camera and began taking pictures. Am I missing something? Is this house like on a historic registry or something? If it is, then I'm gonna have her run it by the city if I want to make any renovations.
Oh, don't change a thing, dear. Leave it just the way it is. Have you moved much of your stuff yet?
Nah, not much. Just started moving boxes about an hour ago.
Oh, that's good.
What's your husband doing? Ray noticed Warren had taken a hold of the curtains.
Oh, pay no attention to him. Why don't you show me the kitchen? I'm sure it's the most interesting room in the house.
To Ray's dismay, Warren pulled out a lighter and tried to set the curtains on fire. Fortunately, the lighter looked to be just as old as the couple and wasn't lighting. What's he doing?
Oh, don't worry about him. Now, were you about to show me the kitchen?
And with that, Estel tried to lead Ray away.
Just keep looking forward, dear. Let us save your life.
Eventually, the lighter ignited and Warren succeeded in setting the curtains on fire. "You crazy old fool!" Ray shouted, before running to put out the flames. Ray had nothing capable of putting out the fire, so the best he could do was pull the curtains from the wall and attempt to stomp them out.
Don't do that,
said Warren, trying to pull Ray away from the burning curtains. Look, you better get out of this house before you become the next thing I start stomping on. Thought you told him you were trying to save his life.
Guess he wants to die in this house.
An hour later, the police were on the scene, taking a statement from Ray. So, these old folks got the drop on you and overpowered you? I never said they overpowered me. I said they caught me by surprise. They pushed me down while I was trying to put out the curtains. Guess I was too preoccupied with keeping my house from burning down to get into a fist fight with a couple of senior citizens, prevent them from leaving. Well, I've already written down that they overpowered you. Can't erase ink. Son of a bitch. As Ray was talking to the officer, the detective on the scene was watching him very intently. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 1. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 2. After the unfortunate curtain burning incident, Ray was able to finish moving the rest of his belongings into the house. As he worked, Ray couldn't help but notice people watching him. They either peeked at him out windows or drove ever so slowly by his house just to stare at him. These odd looks had been happening even before the police had visited Ray's house. So utterly exhausted from moving boxes and furniture all day by himself, Ray crashed on his recliner and made very quick work of several bottles of beer. Ray hadn't had the time to call the cable company to hook up his television, so he passed the time in his darkened living room by watching videos on his phone. Ray's phone was near out of storage as it was practically bursting, as it seems, with videos and pictures of his late wife, Lacey. One video in particular that Ray enjoyed watching was of Lacey as she was washing her car in the driveway. Ray, man, you gonna help me wash the car, or are you gonna stand there and take videos of me all day? Well, you're doing such a great job washing it by yourself. Hate to step in and mess up what you're doing. Oh, is that your excuse? Whoa, no need to get weapons involved, Ray said, as Lacey, who was now pointing the hose at Ray. You gonna help me now, or would you rather get the hose? I'd still rather not help. The answer was enough to earn Ray a well-deserved soaking from his wife. Despite how embarrassing it had been to be drenched, Ray couldn't help but smile at the video. Finding another video he enjoyed greatly, Ray eagerly clicked on it and began watching. Lacey was sitting in the same recliner Ray now sat in. The living room was saturated in sunlight as Lacey gazed out the window as the sound of children playing punctured the silence. When she noticed Ray filming her, Lacey immediately turned her face away. No, don't record me. Awful. No, you don't. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You don't really mean that. What do you mean? All other women don't even exist, as far as I'm concerned. Remember that time I hit a lady with my shopping cart in the grocery store? I didn't even see her standing there because there are no other women. To use some pretty colorful language with you, I was getting ready to pull out my phone and call 911 if she started swinging on you. You don't think I could have handled her?
What do you mean? She was twice your size, Raymond. She would have crushed you like a bug.
Hey, tougher than I look. The smile faded from Lacey's face, and she began again, staring out the window. Will you still love me when I'm all shriveled up and all my hairs fall out? It's not gonna happen to you. But if it does, I'm still gonna be crazy about you. Heck, I'm probably gonna look a lot worse than you. Do you still love me if I just disappeared? Lacey? Would you, Raymond? Ray wiped a tear from his eye as he watched the video. I'm going to love you for 1,000,000 years. What do you think about that? Just 1,000,000? Alright, I'm gonna love you for 1,000,000, billion, trillion years. A long time. Practically forever. Well, I did the math. Even longer than forever. Having been watching videos on his phone for quite some time, the battery finally died, leaving Ray alone in the dark. The sound of a floorboard creak prompted Ray to spin his head around and peer into the darkness. Seeing nothing out of the ordinary, Ray decided it was time for him to head off to bed. As Ray was making his way down the hall, something quite odd happened. The bathroom light suddenly turned on by itself. This stopped Ray dead in his tracks. Half expecting someone to be on the other side of the door, Ray cautiously opened it. Fortunately, there was no one waiting for him. Bad wiring. Guess I'll have to call the electrician. And with that, Ray headed into his bedroom, shutting the door gently behind him. The house was now abnormally silent, and the darkness was just as unsettling, as only the scantest of moonlight could force its way through the curtains. The silence was broken, and what sounded like someone letting out a deep breath filled the hallway outside Ray's bedroom. This was followed by the bathroom light again turning on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 2. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, subscribe. Chapter 3. With the real estate market being hotter than it had been in years, Ferguson Realty's offices were busy with activity. The only time the realtors were given any chance to decompress was their lunch break. Jessie was at her desk eating a modest lunch of a ham sandwich and a bottle of water from a plain brown paper bag. One of the other realtors arrived at Jessie's desk with one of the largest smiles on her face. "Is it true?" asked the woman, whose name was Maria. "Is what true?" "The house. Did you really sell the Devil House?" "Do they really call it that? I mean, I know it had history, but the Devil House? Really? Wow, we've been trying to sell that for years, but no one in their right mind would go anywhere near it. Everyone from these parts has heard the stories." "Well, Mr. Martinez isn't from the area. Look, you're new in town, so you haven't heard the stories about the house like the rest of us.
Growing up, all you ever heard was stay far away from that house. Parents even threatened to send their kids to live there if they ever got out of line. You better believe that straightened us out. Well, what happened there? Well, it all started long ago, like in the 1800s, I think. An old lady named Agnes Weatherby used to live in that house, and she was one bad lady. What did she do? Well, she wasn't always old. From what I've heard, when she was young, she was quite the looker, which made it very easy for her to lure men to her home. And once she got them in there, she did unspeakable things to them. Like what? Didn't I say they were unspeakable? But your guess is as good as mine. I've heard she tortured the hell out of those men. They were supposedly sacrificed to the devil. That lady has some freaky stuff going on in that house. Was she ever punished? That's the best part. They didn't arrest her and put her on trial. A bunch of the men from the town busted into her house in the middle of the night and hanged her, right there in the living room. She wasn't dying fast enough for them though, so they slit her open and let all her guts spill out. Wow, that's gruesome. Yeah, none of the men were ever held accountable for what they did. And why should they? They did a town a favor that night. They said when they came into her house, they found body parts everywhere, and pentagrams and other stuff written on the walls, the blood of her victims. Maria then checked her watch. I gotta get back to work, but congrats on selling that house. Jessie was more than a bit shaken by the horrific story she had just heard. All she could do was sit in silence. It was a beautiful day to be outside, but Ray took his front yard to do some much-needed yard work. The first job was to clear out the weeds that had built up over the years. Ray hadn't had the wherewithal to buy a weed killer or the proper tools, so he had no choice to pull the weeds by hand. You'd think the city would have maintained this place better. Like they wanted to look like the Addams family used to live here. A woman across the street pushing a baby stroller caught Ray's attention. When she looked at him, Ray gave her a friendly wave. Hey, neighbor. An old woman with the purest of black eyes and pastiest of white skins was now looking out the living room and met eyes with the woman pushing the stroller. Wasting no time at all, the woman pushing the stroller began pushing her stroller as fast as she could until she was completely out of sight. Wow, found us some really rude people. Ray watched as something white and poofy began emerging from the bottom of his neighbor's fence. Eventually, out popped a very curious little dog. It showed far less fear than the stroller woman and began sniffing around Ray. Hey, little guy, what are you doing here? Escape from your yard, do some exploring, huh? The little dog began walking in a circle before coming to a stop and doing its business dangerously close to Ray. Ugh, you little jerk, Ray said, immediately standing up to get out of harm's way. When the dog was finished, Ray picked him up and marched him to the neighbor's house. He rang the doorbell and waited, but no one ever answered. Lucky I'm a nice guy.
Most people would have taken you for a car ride that you would have never come back from. Ray opened his back gate and gently put the dog down. Alright, buddy, going into town to buy some tools. Before I go, I'm gonna put a note on your owner's front door, letting them know that you're back here, okay? The dog looked quizzically at Ray. You have no idea what I'm saying, do you? Okay, well, when I get back, let's hope you're not here. Ray drove into town shortly after his one-sided conversation with the neighbor's dog. He stopped in at the local hardware store and quickly became the topic of every customer's conversation. It was obvious to Ray that everyone in the store was either staring at him or talking about him. To try to lighten the mood, Ray took a hold of a nearby shovel and made an ill-advised joke. It's a good shovel for burying a body? By being indoors, Ray was sure he heard a cricket chirp.
Hey, you the guy who bought the old Weatherby place?
Said the old man tending the register. Yeah, that's right. Name's Ray. Nice to meet you.
Any reason in particular why you chose that house?
Well, it was priced to move. That's for sure. It's all on a quiet street, great schools, and the finest neighbors I've ever come across.
You know the history of that house, right?
What history?
Some very bad things happened in that house. Things I'm not all comfortable saying out loud.
Every house has bad things happen in them. I once lived in a house where they used to make meth.
Other people have lived in that house before you. Not all of them lived long enough to get out before it was too late. They didn't believe the stories either. I bet they wish they had believed now.
Look, this house is no different from any other house. Back at Ray's house, the fluffy white dog was waiting patiently for its owner. It hadn't a care in the world as it happily wagged its tail and stared intently at the black gate. But what the fluffy white dog didn't know was that something was watching it. And after that something exhaled deeply, it was quickly upon the dog, forcing a most horrendous yelp to burst from it. Listening to the old man's tale at the hardware store did nothing to dampen Ray's good mood. He was holding the steering wheel with one hand and holding a cheeseburger in the other as he drove home. "What the?" said Ray as he approached his house. There was now a police car parked in the front and an officer talking to the neighbor, who was holding her fluffy white dog.
There he is, officer. Shoot him. Shoot him in the face.
What's going on? Well, looks like someone did a number on your neighbor's dog, said a detective who went by the name Miller.
He left a note on my front door saying there's a surprise for you in the backyard. It wasn't the surprise I was expecting.
Ma'am, go back in your house. I'll be over in a minute to talk to you some more, okay?
Looks like that house found the perfect new owner.
I didn't do anything to that dog. I mean, yeah, it took a dump in my yard and it probably deserves some payback, but I would never do anything like that. I believe you. Look, last time I was here, I didn't really get a chance to speak my mind because there were people from the neighborhood snooping around. I didn't want them to hear what I had to say. But there is something seriously wrong with this house. Oh boy, not you too. Look, I've been a cop in this town for over 15 years. So I'm not just some superstitious nutjob spreading rumors. I've been called to this house more times than I care to remember. And I've seen some really messed up things. Thank you for your concern, but I don't really buy into all that haunted house stuff. Look, I didn't want to do this, but you forced me. All those people that were murdered here back in the 1800s weren't the only people to die horrible deaths in this house. Since I've been on the force, we have pulled out 8 dead bodies from this place, and none of them died of old age. I mean, accidents happen, I guess, right? The last guy was pulled out of here, and he had his eyeballs pulled out of their sockets. The one before had over 100 slash marks all over his body. We've had to keep these deaths from the public. We pull the bodies out in the middle of the night, so no one knows what really happens here. The town found out they'd probably form a mob and come burn this place to the ground. Take half the block with it. This house has claimed enough lives. Please don't let it claim another. Thank you, officer, but you have absolutely nothing to worry about. I can guarantee nothing bad is going to happen in this house. And with that, Ray took a large bite out of his burger. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is the end, chapter 3. Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 4. Having gotten the day off, Jesse paid Ray and his infamous house an unexpected visit. Well, isn't this a surprise? Said Ray upon opening the front door. You didn't realize how cheap you sold this house for and came to ask for it back, did you? No. I was just in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by to see how you're doing. An old man driving by slowed down, rolled his window down. Don't go in there! Before motoring off. Would you like to come in? Asked Ray, who along with Jesse was now feeling a little awkward after what the old man had just shouted out of his car. Yeah, I would love to. Oh, it's really cold in here. Really? Feels fine to me. Guess women are always feeling cold. Sorry, that was sexist, wasn't it? It's okay. I really like what you've done with the place. Yeah, this whole place needed a lot of work. Still does. Took down some of the old wallpaper, painted the walls a little more neutral color. Yeah, that was a good idea. It was way too dark in here before. Flash of color really could help bring some life into this place. So, have you had any problems with the house? Well, I mean, it's a really old house, so wiring is bad. Lights that I turn on keep turning off. Lights that I turn off keep turning on. Can get pretty annoying. I even called an electrician. He said he would swing by today. You ever show up? No. He did not. The pipes are bad too. Keep hearing knocking from the basement. You sure the knocking is the pipes? It's always the pipes. Every time I go down to check on the problem, knocking stops. Probably have to call someone for that too, and they'll probably end up not showing up, just like the electrician. Ray noticed Jesse looking at a picture of Lacey
on a nearby table. Sorry, I didn't mean to stare. That's Lacey. She's very pretty. Yeah, she was amazing. Despite that, she still wore a smile. Was? Yeah, Lacey passed away a long time ago. I'm sorry. It's okay. Lacey got sick. Really sick. At the end, she wasn't herself anymore. But she fought really hard. There's nothing I can do but make sure she passed as peacefully as she could. She'll always be with me though. Sound like an amazing person. Just then, Ray's cell phone began ringing. The ringtone was quite an upbeat pop tune. I don't know how to change that. Hello? What? Where are you? Ray went to the front door and whipped it open. Standing by the curb was a pizza delivery boy holding Ray's order. Yeah, so if you could just throw me the money, bro, that would be really cool. And I'll just leave the pizza right here so you can come get it. Why don't you just come to the front door? You're literally like 10 steps away. Nah, bro, I'm good. I have like this leg condition where I can't really use my legs that good. So if you could just wad the bills up and just throw them at me. This is ridiculous. How about I just come to you, give you the money, and you give me the pizza? Yeah, bro, that could work. When Ray exited the house, heavy footsteps could be heard from upstairs. They traveled down the hall and to the stairs. It seemed that whoever or whatever it was that was upstairs was soon to be making its way to the first floor. Jesse turned their attention to the stairs, and just when it seemed something was about to appear, Ray came flying into the house, badly startling her. What happened? Why were you running? Sorry, a couple dogs caught the scent of the pizza, came after me, but they weren't fast enough. Hungry? Jesse was easily persuaded to stay for dinner. The light above the dining room table illuminated the immediate area well. The rest of the house was beginning to drown in darkness as the sun set outside. Ray was smothering his pizza with hot sauce. He offered Jessie the bottle, but she shook her head. So, it's just you in this big house? Yep. I know it's a lot of house for one person, but I like to stretch my legs. I mean, really stretch my legs. Oh, it's because I thought I heard footsteps upstairs. Oh, yeah, I've heard those too. Pretty sure I've got like raccoons or something living up in the attic. Gonna have to call someone to get rid of them. So, you used to flip houses? Yeah, I was pretty good at it too. Find the house, fix the problem, sell it, move along to the next one. Interesting. So, what do you think about all this haunted house stuff? Bunch of nonsense, right? Yeah, I don't believe in any of that haunted house stuff. I'm one of those people who believes that when you die, that's it. You don't get to come back and take care of unfinished business. Leave that stuff to the movies, I say. When Ray took a drink of water, he immediately spat it back out in a way someone would have if they just had been hit in the back. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Went down the wrong pipe. What I meant to say is, I believe in the afterlife, just not in that haunted house stuff.
You can have one without the other, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So, we've talked so much about me. What about you? Who is Jesse?
Me?
Well, I moved here about a year ago. Same story I'm sure you heard before. Just trying to start over after an incredibly messy divorce. Ah, are you liking the real estate business? I like it a lot. I met tons of interesting people. Plus, it's a great way to learn about town's history. Like this place. If only these walls could talk. The pair finished their meals and talked a bit more before saying their goodbyes. So utterly exhausted was Ray that he skipped his usual routine of watching television and instead went straight to bed. Ray's bedroom was shrouded in darkness when he entered, but he could make out what looked like a figure of someone lying under his covers. Is someone in here? He timidly grabbed his blanket and wiped it off his bed, revealing that no one had been lying underneath. Ah, damn it, it's never a naked lady. In no time at all, Ray was fast asleep. So deep he was in slumber that Ray wasn't able to hear footsteps approaching his bed. Emerging from the darkest corner of the bedroom came the once owner of the house, Agnes Weatherby. On this night, Ray dreamed of Lacey. She was standing out in the darkened hallway outside the couple's bedroom. Her back was turned. "Lacey?" said Ray, slowly approaching her. When he had gotten close enough, Ray put his hand on Lacey's shoulder.
No, not Lacey,
said the woman in an unsettling whisper. When she turned around, Lacey revealed her eyes to be darker than any shade of black Ray had ever seen. Outside of Ray's dream, Agnes had climbed onto his bed and was slowly inching her way towards him. Back inside his dream, Ray was frozen with fear. "Who are you?" he asked, sure that the woman standing before him was not his real wife. Instead of answering, the woman produced a knife from behind her back. Without saying a word, he plunged into Ray's chest. So startling was the dream that Ray immediately woke from his slumber, falling off the bed and landing painfully onto the floor, taking the blanket and the pillows with him in the process. After Ray came to his senses, he found himself alone in his room. Hastily making his way down to the kitchen, Ray opened up his refrigerator and retrieved his bottle of hot sauce. He then poured the contents down the sink. I swore I would never eat this stuff before bed. The same thing happens every time. Eye-gouging, horrible nightmares. When the bottle was empty, Ray calmly walked back upstairs and back to bed. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 4. Yo, what is up, everybody? Teresco back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 5. Jesse was back at work the next day, going over a large stack of files. Maria arrived at her desk and didn't say a word. However, she did give Jesse a look. What's with the look? I was talking to Janet, and she said you paid that little visit to that Ray guy. Yeah, I wanted to see how he was doing. Is it true? You really went into the devil house again? Girl, are you out of your mind? What? Nothing happened. This time. You got lucky. What were you thinking, going to a house like that? And alone? I wasn't alone. Ray was with me. Oh, and this Ray guy gonna protect you when the demons come crawling out the walls, huh? I didn't see any demons. It seemed like a perfectly normal house to me. I mean, it has its creaking thumps, and sometimes it feels like someone is watching you, whispering in your ear, but it really is just a normal house. Maria pulled up a chair, sat beside Jesse. Look, you have to promise me you won't go back into that house. And I was just staring out here. Look, they stuck me in the house too. It must be some kind of initiation or something. I did a full walkthrough. The whole time, I felt like there were eyes on me, mentally just undressing me. Jesse gave Maria a look of her own. Look, that was before having 3 kids, okay? Look, cut me some slack. Anyway, I kept hearing footsteps upstairs, and the house was cold. Like way too cold for that time of the year. But what really freaked me out was, as I was heading to my car, I took one last look at the house, and that's when I saw that old woman in black watching me from the living room window. It didn't look human at all. I don't know, someone could have slipped in the house while you were in there and you just didn't notice them. I locked all the doors after I went in there. I'm telling you, it was Agnes Weatherby. Her spirit is still in that house. Are you sure that's what happened? People here tell me you liked to hit the bottle back in the day. Look, I've seen pictures of this bitch. It was her. Lucky for me, I never had to go back in that house because no one was ever stupid enough to want to buy it. They told me not to tell you what I had seen when they assigned the house to you. They also told me not to tell any of the other realtors they gave the house to. And I had been sober for years, so thank you very much. How many other realtors have gone in that house? Every new one. Like this one guy named Ed, or something like that. I don't remember his name. None of us liked him. He came back from his walkthrough and quit right there on the spot. Said this job wasn't for him. Maybe the lady's spirit got tired of waiting for someone new and moved in and left. Evil spirits don't take their ball and go home because there isn't someone there to play with. And besides, what rational human being buys a house like that? People do research before putting in an offer on a house. This Ray, if that is his real name, you have to know about the stories. All you've got to do is Google that address and you're gonna find a bunch of stuff that will show you that that's not the right house for you. What are you saying? What I'm saying is, maybe we shouldn't be focusing so much on the house, and instead focus on the guy that bought the house. Ray had called someone to help him with what he assumed to be a run-of-the-mill pest problem. According to the tag on his shirt, the man's name was Javier, and according to the look on his face, he was less than enthusiastic to be paying a visit to the house. You been hearing footsteps in the attic? And they're like scratching type, right? They're not like a person is walking around? Honestly, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm pretty sure it's like family raccoons or something. Ray pulled down the ladder that led to the attic. Now, there's no light up here, so you're gonna have to use a flashlight if you want to see anything. And believe me, it gets dark up here. You're not gonna come up there with me? It's a really low ceiling. You're shorter than me, so I think it'll be easier for you. Bro, we're the same height. How about I just poke my head up there and tell you what I see? Yeah, that could work. Javier climbed the ladder and poked his head into the attic, shined his flashlight around. See anything? Nothing so far. The light from Javier's flashlight did little to illuminate the attic. It was freakishly dark inside. Look for raccoons or squirrels. I bet those two are working together up there, making it sound like they've been, got clompy footsteps or something. I know their tricks. Javier did a quick scan of the attic. There was nothing out of the ordinary. There was a rocking chair covered by a white sheet, very little else. Before he could report his lack of findings to Ray, the rocking chair began to rock, ever so slowly. Hey! Hold on. I think there's something stuck in my teeth. What looked like a person covered by a sheet appeared on the rocking chair. As Javier squinted to better see, whoever it was on the rocking chair sprang up and charged toward him. Javier flew off the ladder and landed painfully on his back. Put the ladder back up, put it up, put it up. What? Put the ladder back up, there's someone up there. Ray did as Javier said and retracted the ladder. Was it a raccoon? Did it bite you? Did it give you rabies? You have to tell me if it did. No, it was a person up there. It came at me. I knew I should have never come here. I'd know if there was someone in the attic. Look, yo man, your house is haunted. I think you'd be very lucky if it was just raccoons you're dealing with. As Javier passed by the bathroom, he was treated to a far worse sight than he had already seen. Another version of himself was sitting on the toilet, but this version of Javier had his throat slashed. His stomach had also been cut open, allowing Javier's organs to spill out. Javier let out a horrified scream and quickly fled from the house, dropping all of his gear as he did. Ray looked in the bathroom and found absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. What? I flushed. By the time Ray got to the front door, Javier was already in his truck. Yo, you forgot all your stuff. Keep it, man. All right, but I'm not paying you. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end, chapter 5. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author. Like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 6. Having little to do on this day, Ray settled down in his recliner to watch some television. He found the notebook was playing as he was flipping through the channels. Ray couldn't help but smile. This was one of Lacey's favorite movies. Ray straightened himself up in his chair. Okay, no more messing around. I'm finally gonna finish this movie. This one's for you, babe. After about 10 minutes, Ray was fast asleep. He had tried to stay awake to watch the movie to its conclusion, but Ray just couldn't do it. The setting, the story, and the characters were all just too unappealing to keep Ray's interest. The house became inundated with Ray snoring. If there was ever something that could wake the dead, then Ray snoring would be it. Unbeknownst to the slumbering movie connoisseur, the knob on the stove began turning on its own. Before long, gas was filling the whole house. Ray's delightful slumber had led him to dream about the last time he and Lacey watched The Notebook. The couple was sitting on their couch, snuggled together beneath a colorful Afghan. Oh, this is the part where Allie faints. I always get chills during this part. Much of Lacey's dismay, Ray had again fallen asleep during her favorite movie. Ray's mouth was hanging wide open, and a trickle of drool was streaming out. Nice. He couldn't stay up this time. How's this fair? I always watch your movies to the end, no matter how stupid they are. I have to sit through explosions and gunfights, and all I ask is that you sit through this movie just one time without falling asleep. Lacey immediately began shaking Ray. Wake up, Raymond. Wake up, Raymond. Wake up. The more Lacey shook Ray, the more force she used. And each time she ordered him to wake up, the louder her voice became. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Ray awoke and immediately began coughing and gasping for air. The smell of gas had made Ray lightheaded, but he managed to escape through the front door and collapse onto the front lawn. When he awoke, Ray found he was in the back of an ambulance, being tended to by a pair of paramedics. They had put on an oxygen mask to aid his breathing. What happened? Detective Miller was standing just outside the ambulance. Seems like you had a bit of a gas leak. A couple neighbors said they found you sprawled out on the front yard, mumbling about a notebook or something. What? I have a gas leak now? Ah, great. Another thing I gotta fix in that house. Can I talk to him alone for a second? Ray, I'm not convinced this was a gas leak. That stove was turned all the way up. Ray removed the oxygen mask from his face. I must be getting forgetful in my old age. That stove was cleaner than any stove I've ever seen. When was the last time you used it? Recently? Probably. I checked your trash can, and it's full of takeout boxes. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you didn't even know how to use a stove. Look, I'll have you know I can boil water like it's nobody's business. Look, I don't think you left the stove on. I think someone turned it on, hoping it would put an end to your life. Oh boy, not this again. Do you think a ghost turned on the stove so that I would die from sucking up gas fumes? Is that it? Pretty much. Ray hopped off the gurney and out of the ambulance. Look, man, accidents happen all the time. Some of us are just a little too accident prone sometimes. I promise you, there's nothing that's not normal going on around here. Jessie was back at work, walking back to her desk when she passed by Maria. This is not normal. What are you doing? I knew there had to be something wrong with that boyfriend of yours, so I did some checking up on him. He's not my boyfriend. Why? Did he say something? Look at this. I typed Ray's name into one of these people lookup sites. Isn't it kind of a creep move to use one of those sites? Look, I didn't pay to use this website. It's completely free. It's only creepy if you pay for this kind of stuff. You have a good point. So, what did you find? Look at this. This site shows all the addresses Ray has lived at. Look at how many there are. Lived at over 40 addresses in the last 10 years. That's kind of weird. You think that's bad? You better brace yourself. I googled his ass and looked at what look what I came up with. Jesse began scanning Maria's screen and was shocked to find an old news story about how Ray's wife met a most untimely demise. What is this? The story described a brutal attack in the Martinez home on one fateful night many years prior. Ray had been stabbed numerous times by an unknown assailant. The amount of blood he had lost should have been enough to kill him, but he somehow managed to survive. Lacey, on the other hand, had sustained only a single stab wound on the chest, but that injury had been enough to end her life. They never found the murder weapon, but they never found any forced entry either. That boy got secrets he ain't sharing with the rest of us. But he said Lacey got sick. I guess he didn't really want to talk about something so horrible with someone he hardly knows. I mean, would you want to talk about something like this? Jesse, your break's over. Get back to work. Look, Jesse, I'm telling you, you stay away from that boy. That night, Ray wanted nothing more than to decompress from another hectic day. So he did something he was accustomed to doing. That night, Ray drew himself a very sudsy bubble bath, rubber ducky included. Ray had placed a damp washcloth upon his face and allowed the serenity of the moment to take him away. I feel just like a lady. Was that sexist? Nah. So relaxed was he that Ray was struggling to stay awake, and in his current state, he was unable to hear the very heavy breathing that was growling dangerously close. Before long, something grabbed Ray by the shoulders and had forced him underwater. Being in such a state of shock, it took Ray a few seconds more than he would have liked before he started fighting back. Eventually, Ray was able to pull his head out of the water and catch his breath through a series of desperate coughs. Don't ever fall asleep in the bathtub. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 6. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again with another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 7. Early the next day, Jesse was anxiously scanning the office. She knew Maria was around and would not approve of what she was about to do. Quickly as she could, Jesse dialed Ray's home phone. It rang a few times before someone picked up. Hello? Ray? Jesse? There was no answer on the other end. All Jesse could hear was static and what sounded like breathing. Ray, can you hear me? I think we might have a bad connection. Before Jessie could say another word, she was treated to the most horrific scream she had ever heard. She immediately hung up and was badly startled when she turned around to find Maria right behind her. What's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. Why? Who said anything was wrong? Well, you look like you just saw a ghost. Ghost? What ghost? What's a ghost? Girl, you are working way too hard. Later that day, Ray had a plumber over to the house. His kitchen sink was clogged, and he desperately needed help unclogging it. So, I used drain cleaner on this thing, but that didn't do anything. Yeah, sometimes you get something stuck down there, and that takes a little more than a drain cleaner. Should be able to find what's blocking your drain with the camera. Won't take too long. Alright, sounds good. Hey, when you're done, can you take a look at the pipes in the basement? They have been knocking like crazy. I barely sleep at night because of them. The basement? Bill, who had a clear look of fright on his face. No one said anything about the basement. The ticket was for the kitchen sink. There was a sudden knocking on the front door. Let me just check on that. When Ray answered the door, he found a group of kids running away. Ghost house, ghost house. Ah, you little punks. Bill was now all alone inside the house. He had been quite wary of entering in the first place. Though Ray was outside dealing with some no-good kids, it felt to Bill as if someone was watching him. The not-so-subtle sound of deep breathing also became evident. Ever so slowly, Bill looked behind him. Standing uncomfortably close to him was Ray. Bill was badly startled, and by being so badly startled, also startled Ray. Whoa, man, why are you standing so close to me? Sorry, I wanted to see if I could see what's inside the drain on your camera. Thought you were outside dealing with those kids. Yeah, they were too fast for me. I stopped chasing them after a couple steps. There's no way I was gonna catch any of them, even the fat one. Getting old sucks. Do me a favor. Can you try not to leave me alone? I might, need a hand or something. Yeah, man, no problem. The pipes in the basement began making a horrible noise. It was as if someone was beating on them with another pipe. See, I told you. Look, hold on, I'll be right back. And with that, Ray hurried off to the basement. Wait, exclaimed Bill. Being the model employee that he was, Bill continued feeding the line down the drain. Okay, Bill. Okay, you got this. He said 10 Hail Marys before entering. Nothing bad can happen to you. Before long, Bill's line hit something. What was showing up on his monitor looked to be a tangled mess of black hair. The hair soon started to look as if it was moving. What is that? As Bill leaned in better to see the monitor, an eyeball appeared in the mess of hair. It was painfully obvious that it was staring right at him. Oh, no, to hell with this, exclaimed Bill, quickly retracting the line. I'm chewing the crap out of Jerry the second I see him. I told him I did not want to come here, but he wouldn't listen. Oh, I'm gonna give him hell for this. Out of nowhere, a hand, made completely out of blood, thrust from the drain and grabbed a hold of Bill's hand just as he completely pulled the line out. Ray? Sorry, I can barely hear you. It's really dark down here. The eyeball appeared at the drain opening of the opposite basin. It was soon joined by the tangled hair, which began crawling out of the drain and making its way towards Bill. Ray? Ray? Immediately after his name was called again, Ray appeared. The scene he came upon was quite a strange one. Bill was being very dramatic despite everything being perfectly normal. Did you already finish? The hand made of blood, the eyeball, and the tangled black hair were now nowhere to be found. Bill began feeling the wrists that had been grabbed, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. It showed no signs of having just been grabbed. Everything okay? Without saying a word, Bill ran out of the house. Hey, you forgot your stuff. Bill's hands were shaking so terribly that he struggled just to get his keys out of his pocket. It all belongs to the company. They can come get it if they want it. And with that, Bill got in his truck and hastily drove away. All right, but I'm not paying you. That night, Ray settled down on his easy chair and watched some television. He had settled on a nature show. The lioness takes its time. The zebra has no idea that its fate is already sealed. Ah, stupid zebra. The lioness is careful not to let the zebra know what awaits in just a few short moments. And in the blink of an eye, the hungry lioness is upon the zebra, and it's over. Before long, Ray had fallen asleep. Ray's dream on this night was a familiar one. He was in bed with Lacey. The room was uncomfortably dark. Raymond, you awake? Being far too tired to engage his wife in conversation, Ray didn't give a response, hoping it would lead her to call it a night as well. Thank you for sticking with me, Raymond. I know it isn't easy putting up with me sometimes, but I just want you to know I wouldn't want to be going through this without anybody else. I love you, Raymond. And with that, Lacey rested her head on her pillow and went to sleep. Knowing it was far too late to say something now, Raymond did his best to fall asleep. Ray awoke from his temporary slumber. A tear fell from his eye, prompting him to quickly wipe it away. Ah, stupid dusty house. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 7. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 8. Ray was pleasantly surprised the next day when Jessie paid him an unexpected visit. She again said she was in the neighborhood and just wanted to see how he was doing. Lucky for Ray, he was cooking a large meal on the stove. There would be more than enough for two. As Ray was toiling away in the kitchen, Jessie's cell phone began ringing. Hello? Girl, where are you? Someone told me that you went home early. Yeah, I'm fine. You aren't with that Ray boy, are you? No, of course not. I'm at my second job. Gotta make ends meet, you know? Oh, really? Okay, so where is this second job of yours? A strip club. I'm a stripper. Really? So, what's your stripper name? Strippy McStrip Place? Peter just said your stripper name was Sparkles or Sapphire or something like that. But you panicked and said the name of the job in your name. That giveaway that you're lying. Can't change my answer to Sapphire. Too late. You're with that Ray boy again. I knew it. I thought I told you to stay away from him. Look, keep your voice down. I'm in an incognito mission to find out more about him. Girl, as soon as the customer's signature is on the contract, we don't have to find out any more about him. So, your business with him is done. Oops, gotta go. Ray entered the dining room, holding a casserole dish filled with what looked like a casserole, but more just a conglomeration of different ingredients masquerading as a casserole. The food made a squishy sound as Ray scooped it out of the dish and onto Jesse's styrofoam plate. The plate paired well with the red Solo cups. Bon appetit. Looks great. As they ate, Jessie brought up a question that had been weighing on her mind for some time. So, the lady with the blood-curdling scream on the phone? What was that all about? Oh, that. I have nearly the same phone number as a sex hotline. Only one digit is different. You'd be surprised how many times I've gotten called in the middle of the night by guys asking me what I'm wearing. They scream on those sex lines? Yeah, people are into some weird stuff these days. You know, the internet and all. And all the stuff just gets boring. Not that I have any knowledge about that sort of stuff. Jessie then took a drink before dabbing her forehead in the napkin. Some spicy food. Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was having company and sometimes go too hard with the hot sauce. I don't always like the stuff, but now I can't get enough of it. It's okay. What happened to your arms? What Jessie was referring to were the numerous scratches that were all over Ray's arms. It looked as if he had fought a cat, and that cat had won. Oh, these have been happening while I'm asleep. I guess I'd better start clipping my fingernails down. Are you sure that's how it happened? They look like pretty deep cuts. I'm not worried. I've just been having these really weird dreams lately. I think that's what's causing them. What kind of dreams? I dream that I'm lying in bed when this disgusting, vile, out-of-this-world, ugly old woman crawls on top of me. The temperature in the room suddenly began to drop. You know, she's one of those like hags that you could just tell that even when she was young, she was ugly. You can't even make the excuse, well, she's only ugly because she's old and wrinkly. No. She was a hideous beast from the moment she crawled out of whatever equally monstery, oozing, pus-filled woman that gave birth to her. Maybe cut down on the adjectives? Said an uncomfortable Jessie, who was now nervously scanning the area. Is it getting colder in here? I feel like it's getting colder in here. And her breath smells like 1,000 sewers filled to the brim with dirty diapers that have been left to rot in the sun. She is, by far, the most vile creature to ever set foot on God's green earth. The lights began to flicker, and what sounded like angry whispers filled the room. this it? Is this how I die? Nah, it's bad wiring. No electricians want to touch this place. Got those cushy union jobs where they don't even lift a finger if they don't want to. Plus, this house is a drafty son of a bitch. A door downstairs slammed loudly, prompting Jesse to look at Ray to get his best logical explanation. Very drafty. When the lights finally went out, Jessie stood up from her chair and the speed of someone who had been jolted with electricity. Yeah, would you look at the time? Leaving already? Yeah, got lots of early meetings tomorrow. Trying to sell a house of a hot air balloon guy, but I really have to rise to the occasion. Yeah, it's good to be busy. It really is. Oh, you don't have to lead me to the door. I can find my way, said Jessie, as her hand was firmly gripped. I'm over here, implied Ray, whose voice showed he was not the one who had taken Jessie by the hand. Jessie rushed to the door and into the small amount of light that was shining through the front window. It was there where she was met by Ray. He then handed him her business card. Just in case you lose the first one I gave you. If you ever think about selling this place and getting out of here. What? What do you mean? I just moved in. Seriously, you need to get out of this house. And with that, Jessie made her hasty retreat. Ray now was all alone in the very dark and very drafty house. Guess I went too heavy on the spicy food. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 8. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 9. Jessie had some free time the next day at work, so she got on her computer and did a little investigating on Ray's house. What she read about Agnes Weatherby and what she had done to so many unsuspecting people in her house made her feel sick to her stomach. Several websites she visited had old photographs of the carnage. Jessie's cheeks ballooned to twice their normal size several times as she held back the vomit. Wow, how evil can one person be? Clicking away from the search, Jessie opened the tab containing the website Maria had told her about that gave out far too much information about people. Before Jessie was a very long list of addresses that Ray had lived at. The most recent address was the house he lived at now, but Jessie wondered what had led Ray to move away from these other homes after having lived in them for such short amounts of time. Choosing one of the addresses at random, Jessie Googled it and was presented with the most startling revelation. Several stories appeared about the house reportedly being haunted. Thinking it to be nothing more than an eerie coincidence, Jessie Googled another random address. Again, he was presented with several stories about the house's haunted history. No matter which house Jessie Googled, the result was always the same. Every one of the houses Ray had lived in had some sort of reported haunting attached to it. How can this be? One of the stories had a video attached to it. In this video, two boys had sneaked into the house at night, armed with only their flashlights and the phone they were using to record the video.
What's that sound? Shut up.
The sound of footsteps on the floor above them was coming crystal clear. There's someone else in here, bro.
No, there isn't. Why are you being such a chicken?
Hey, at least I didn't pee myself at the carnival last October.
Look, I told you I spilled my soda on my lap. That's why I was wet.
No soda smells like what you smelled like. What sounded like whispering could then be heard.
So help me if you get in the way of me finding all that treasure.
There's no treasure in here. There are only demons in this house.
Demons, schmeemons. I'll kick their asses if they try to take any of my treasure.
The video then showed the flashlight directed at the door that was slowly opening. What looked like the figure of a person was just outside the rim of the light. Before Jesse knew it, an unseen force had knocked down both boys, leaving the ceiling as the only thing visible on the video. At that moment, one of Jesse's co-workers had made his way to her desk with a cup of coffee. An extremely startled Jesse nearly jumped out of her seat when the man made the awful mistake of putting his hand on her shoulder. The coffee jumped out of the cup and into the man's face, forcing he and Jesse to both begin screaming. Ray had again heard the pipes knocking in his basement and had gone to check them out. The basement was exactly what was expected to be from a house that age. It had a dirt floor and was kept illuminated by a single bulb hanging from the center of the room. The light, however, did little to illuminate the room, as it was still very difficult to see. Rickety old shelves were found throughout, held against the walls with rusty nails that looked as if they were ready to give away at any second. Finding the pipes, Ray began inspecting them. So help me if you start to leak and flood the basement. You have any idea how hard it's gonna be for me to find someone who's willing to come down here? With the pipes running from the wall to across the ceiling, Ray had to use the rickety old chair to stand up, check for any signs of damage or on their layers of rust. These pipes are in decent shape for their age. So engrossed in his inspection was Ray that he failed to notice a set of footprints in the dirt, making its way closer to him. Puffs of dust popped up with each step. If I fall off the chair and hurt myself, can I sue the homeowner? Wait, that's me. As if on cue, one of the chair's legs broke, sending Ray falling off and crashing into some shelves. The force was enough to loosen the nails anchoring the shelves onto the wall, but not quite strong enough to completely pull them out. Glass jars filled with tacks and rusty nails tipped over, but did not spill their contents onto Ray, who was now flat on his back. Seeing just how close he was to having numerous sharp objects falling on him, Ray couldn't help but make a comment. Today must be my lucky day. Much to Ray's dismay, the nails that were anchoring to the shelves onto the wall gave way, and the shelves and all their contents came crashing down on top of him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end, chapter 9. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, subscribe. Chapter 10. Jessie was at home on her computer. Her investigation into Raid's odd choice of houses was continuing. As she worked, she was on the phone with Maria. The houses must be haunted by his victims. It all makes perfect sense now. Ray's a serial killer that kills his victims in these houses, so they become haunted, thus satisfying his sick and twisted desire to have sex with ghosts. All of the houses were reported to be haunted years before Ray ever moved into them. Girl, you gotta poke holes in every theory I have. It just doesn't make any sense. Ray doesn't believe his house is haunted. Every time something out of the ordinary happens, he always has some kind of explanation. You think he's some kind of debunker or something like that? Look, whatever Ray is, you have got to finally start taking my advice and stay away from him. If he isn't a serial killer, then there's a chance something even worse. What's worse than being a serial killer? He has a small willy, that's what. What? Before either could say another word, the distant sound of glass breaking and kids screaming could be heard on Maria's end. Girl, I gotta go. Someone just broke something, now I have to go break them. And with that, the call was over. Do these houses have a connection? Wondered Jessie, standing over the information on her computer screen. Or is it just all one big coincidence? That night, Ray, who now had bandages all over his body due to his most recent accident, was having a dreadful time in bed. He had been able to fall asleep, but he was suffering greatly. Every dream that came to him was of Lacey, but none of these dreams were of the moments Ray cared to remember. Ray and Lacey were in bed. It was very late, and Ray was on the verge of falling asleep. The room seemed even more dark than usual. Ray, you awake? Ray wanted to speak, but he was far too tired to do anything more than lie with his back to Lacey. I just wanted to say that I wish it was you who was going through this. You're the one that should be sick, not me. What makes you so special that you don't have to experience this? Why does it have to be me? Ray was no longer on the brink of sleep. He was wide awake, but far too shocked to say anything. I can see it on your face every time you look at me. Think I'm pathetic, don't you? Do you think somehow that I'm getting what I deserve? How dare you think these things of me? I won't let you get away with this, Ray. One way or another, you're going to regret this. Ray had opened his mouth and was about to say something when Lacey spoke again. You're a shitty human being, Ray. But you're an even shittier husband. I hate you. Ray was ripped away from his slumber after being forced to live through one of the most horrible moments of his life. Being quite parched now, Ray made his way downstairs into the kitchen, where he quickly drank down a full glass of water. On the way back to his bedroom, Ray stopped by a picture of Lacey in the living room. When he picked it up, the glass cracked. This is what happens when you buy a picture from a yard sale. The knocking pipes could once again be heard from down in the basement. Ray whipped the basement door open and flipped on the light switch, but the light refused to turn on. I'll have to deal with Steve another time. For what felt like an eternity, Ray attempted to get back to sleep, but there was no way he could succumb to his fatigue, as all the noise in the basement keeping him up. Having had his fill of obnoxious noises for one night, Ray took his pillow and the blanket and marched out of the house to his car. For the night, Ray's back seat would serve as his bed. As Ray tried his best to get comfortable in his temporary bed, Agnes was watching him from an upstairs window. Ray was jerked awake the following morning by an elderly couple out for a walk.
Go sleep somewhere else, you bum,
exclaimed the wife before banging angrily on the window. The first order of business for Ray that morning to go to the local hardware store and buy some supplies to put an end to the banging pipe once and for all. Ray's haggard look got him more than his fair share of looks.
You look like hell, son.
Well, I feel like hell. With no one being home, it was the most perfect opportunity for Estill and Warren to sneak their way into Ray's house. Warren was quite the lockpicker, so the couple had no trouble getting in. Warren was about to light the curtains in the living room on fire again, but Estill stopped him.
Look, there's no need to rush it. Just start fire in the basement. Why would we do that? Because we start the fire on the ground floor, then it'll burn both upward and downward. It'll take too long. It'll give the fire department time to put it out. We start the fire down in the basement, then it only has to burn upward. Looks and brains.
The couple hastily headed to the basement. Estill flipped on the light switch, but the light refused to turn on. Fortunately, the pair had packed flashlights. Even during the day, the basement was as dark as the endless void of space. Once they had carefully made it down the rickety stairs, Warren and Estill proceeded to cover every available surface with lighter fluid. As the pair was working, the pipes began banging loudly.
What's making them do that? Don't worry about it. Just keep squirting.
The basement door slammed shut.
I think she knows we're here.
A distinct sound of whispering could be heard throughout the basement.
Light this place up, Warren.
The pipe running the length of the ceiling burst open and water began pouring out. When Warren struck a match, a sudden gust of air extinguished it. He struck another match, but the same thing happened.
Keep trying. We have to destroy this house, no matter what.
The water that had poured onto the dirt floor softened the soil far quicker than it should have. To make matters worse, the old wooden staircase suddenly fell to pieces and into a jumbled pile of broken wood.
I don't think she's gonna let us leave.
Hands covered in decaying flesh thrust out of now abnormally soft dirt and took a hold of Warren and Estel's ankles. Estel was caught so off guard that she dropped her flashlight. Its fading light shined on Agnes, who was at the other end of the basement, happily watching as the couple and all their supplies were slowly being pulled into the ground.
We knew this day would eventually come.
The pair had been just close enough so that they could reach out and grab each other's hand.
I love you, my little chickadee. Love you too, my darling.
Before long, the couple had been completely sucked into the soft ground, leaving behind nary a trace that they had ever been there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end, chapter 10. Yo, what is up, everybody? So let's go back again. Another chapter from the story titled Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 11. Ray made it home after his venture into town. He wasted no time taking his bag of supplies to the living room couch to come up with the battle plan. Contents of Ray's bag were little more than several rolls of duct tape. Okay, if I wrap up those pipes tightly enough, then it should stop the banging. I saw them do it one time on those house renovating shows. I mean, I fell asleep while watching it, so it could have been a dream, but I'm confident this will work. An above average size yawn escaped from Ray. They're a little tired from last night. Yeah, maybe I'll take a little cat nap before I get started. Ray laid himself down on the couch, closed his eyes. It took him no time at all to fall fast asleep. Still quite obsessed with the mystery that was Ray, Jessie was at home, glued to her computer. She had read about every article and watched numerous videos on the houses Ray had once called his home. The more she researched, the more frustrated Jessie became. She had nowhere near the nerve to ask Ray what his deal was, but she had come to a dead end with her investigation. Why? Why do you keep moving into these houses, Ray? Jessie had Googled an address and read most of the articles about it, but an article at the bottom of the search had gone unread. Its title seemed strange, even for a haunted house article. Haunted no more? With newfound energy, Jessie began reading the article. It began like all the other articles, explaining the lore of the house and the experiences of former house owners. But unlike the other articles Jessie had began reading, this one went on to explain how and all paranormal activity had ceased. Jessie eagerly clicked on the video link attached to the article. As she watched the video, an interview with an old man piqued her interest. House used to be haunted, not anymore. The damnedest thing. For years, all you heard was how bad the house was. Now, nothing. Jessie eagerly typed in another address. Like with the last one, she found unread articles at the bottom of the search. The current house she was investigating had been the former home of one of Ohio's worst serial killers. This article too had a video. We really couldn't afford to rent any of the other houses in this area, so we had no choice but to rent this place. We heard the stories and hoped that they were just stories. We've been here for almost 6 months now, and nothing has happened. The perfectly normal house, said a woman. Jesse Googled another address, and after reading the article, he watched a video of a pair of paranormal investigators recording their findings. There's nothing here. Yeah, the house is completely clean. From all the stories we heard about this place, we expected to find more than enough evidence to declare this place being haunted. There wasn't a trace of paranormal activity. Someone must have busted all the ghosts before we got here. Jesse continued to scan articles and watch videos. As odd as it was to discover that Ray had lived in so many haunted houses, it was just as odd to find that those houses were now considered to no longer be haunted. I brought my kids here last summer to scare them for being bad in school. We didn't find no ghosts here. All we found was a bunch of bullshit. With night quickly approaching, Ray decided to get the task of fixing the pipe before it got too late. He whipped open the door to the basement and was about to take a step onto the stairs that no longer existed, but something stopped him. Flipped on the light switch, but the room remained dark. Fortunately for Ray, he had a flashlight with him. Ray shined it downward and was shocked to find his stairs lying in ruins on the basement floor. What the hell happened here? Termites? Ray left, but returned shortly after with a very long ladder. It was just as old and rickety as the stairs had been, but it was far better than nothing. Ray placed it in the basement and ever so carefully began climbing down. This is good. You're getting stuff done. Ray was unaware that Agnes was waiting for him at the bottom of the ladder. Before Ray knew it, the ladder had begun to tip over and was now on its way down. Ray jumped off, but hit his head on the ground quite hard. The bag of supplies that he had been carrying were flung all the way to the other side of the basement. But the worst part about the accident was that Ray had fallen on a very sharp piece of wood, which had plunged deep into his side. The pain Ray felt as he was removing it was excruciating. I told you to buy a new ladder, but you just had to be cheap. Thoughts of Lacey began filling Ray's mind as he slowly slipped into unconsciousness. They were all happier times of either smiling or laughing, and that made Ray smile. The thoughts took an awful turn immediately as Ray was forced to watch his most horrible moment. Ray, who was covered from head to toe in his own blood, had just forced a large knife into Lacey's chest. Ray snapped out of his stupor and began crawling as best as he could toward the other end of the basement. Light above him began to flicker. To call for help. Bet that dumb superstitious cop is gonna show up and start wagging his finger at me. I told you this place is haunted. Most accidents in the home happen due to stupidity, not ghosts. Yeah, that'll shut him up. Agnes was near the fallen ladder, watching Ray intently. Whispers began filling the room. This place is too drafty. I have to replace the weather stripping before winter comes. The basement began to shake. And I'm on a fault line? Will my bad luck ever end? Woe isn't me. Ray had to stop crawling as he grew ever closer to passing out. He was temporarily snapped out of his lethargic state when he heard Lacey's voice in his head.
Kill them, Raymond. Kill them all.
Lacey's voice grew more irate with each command she gave.
Kill them, Raymond. Kill them all, kill them all, kill them all.
Ray was able to stand up and hobble a few steps. Wet patches on the ground from where Warren and Estill had met their fates caught his attention. Unable to support his own weight any longer, Ray crashed to his knees and began crawling again.
I have to finish the job. Do it for the resale value.
Like a hungry predator stalking its prey, Agnes began making her way toward Ray.
Where'd that duct tape go? Fixing this house no matter what, even if it kills me. Raymond.
Damn, this house is drafty. Ray reached his bag of supplies. He was able to get to a kneeling position and began rummaging. The amount of blood he had lost was making it difficult for Ray to keep his focus.
Duct tape fixes all. That's what I always say.
Agnes was now within striking distance of Ray. Closing his eyes, Ray heard Lacey's voice once again. I love you, Raymond. Only Lacey gets to call me Raymond, said Ray. With the speed of a viper striking unsuspecting prey, Ray turned around to face Agnes. His eyes were now glowing a bright yellow. In less than a blink of an eye, Ray was upon her. A most horrific scream burst from Agnes, but it didn't last long. Ray absorbed the witch into his body in the matter of only a few short seconds. Utterly exhausted from the ordeal, Ray fell flat on his back, his arms stretched out to his side. The bulb, which had always been flickering now, illuminated the entire basement. One last memory of Lacey came to Ray at that moment. After he had fatally stabbed his wife, the two of them fell to the ground in their basement, which was clearly eerily similar to the one Ray had in his new house. They both had their arms stretched out wide, their hands touching. Ray looked at his wife, but there was no longer any sign of life in her eyes. Tears now forming in his eyes, Ray shook out of his daydreaming state. Guess I went a tad heavy on the acting this time. You think? Said Lacey, who was now lying next to Ray, just like in his memory. She looked no worse for wear, and there was no sign of any knife in her chest. Woe is me? What were you thinking? I improvised. Never deviate from the script, Raymond. Told you that time and time again. Yeah, this was a tough one. I did everything to get her to drop her guard. You did great. But our jobs aren't over yet. There are lots of houses out here that need to be cleaned. I don't care if there's a million more houses. As long as you're here with me, I can do anything. I will always be with you, Raymond. I love you. When Ray turned his head to look at his wife, she was gone. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 11. Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again with the final chapter of our story titled How Some Houses Bleed, written by Jacob Harris. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Chapter 12. A few days later, Jesse had mustered the courage to pay Ray yet another unsuspected visit. Okay, Jesse, okay, you can do this, Sneak your question into a casual conversation. Hey Ray, how you doing? Nice weather we've had these past couple of days. How come all the haunted houses you lived in are no longer haunted? Yes, that's how I'll do it. When Jesse pulled up to Ray's house, her heart sank more than just a bit. He found a for sale sign in the front yard. Jesse made her way to the front door and began knocking. He was hoping Ray was still occupying the residence and not yet moved away. Ray, you in here? Ray? With each passing knock, Jesse was losing more hope. Agnes? When she looked through the window, Jesse could see that all the furniture was gone. Left. Jesse was fighting back tears as she made her way back to her car. She stopped at the for sale sign, and her sorrow temporarily changed. Not only did he leave like a thief in the night, but he used a different realtor. Off somewhere in a different part of the country, two boys riding their bikes were watching a new neighbor moving into a local folks regarded as the most evil house they had ever come across. The boys rode up to the man who was busy unloading boxes from a moving van. Tell him, first boy said. Oh, you tell him, second boy said. Hey, mister, said the first boy. The man turned around to show himself to be one Ray Martinez. Any injuries he had incurred while at his previous home were now gone from sight. What can I do for you boys? I don't know if you knew this or not, but everyone says your house is haunted. Haunted? Oh boys, don't you know? There's no such thing as ghosts. Ray then looked out a window on the second floor. The curtain was gently swaying as if someone had just been watching him. Trust me, I know. And Ray just grinned. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again. Another short horror story for you guys. This one is a one-shot written by Old School Horror titled Something's Out There. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, subscribe. Dark roads lead to dark places. These were the words which went through Jake Harris's mind as he was driving on the lonely country road. He was coming from a dark place, a place which was not physical. It was in his past, and no matter how fast he was driving, he couldn't get out of it. Guilt is a dangerous feeling. It was eating him for years. So he was driving away from the big city. He needed some time on his own. The state of Wisconsin proved to be an excellent choice for him. Jake's late parents had a cabin somewhere north in the woods. He was headed in that direction in order to escape for a few days. Sleepiness crawled over him, and he had a hard time concentrating on the road. He was driving for many hours now. But driving was also a thing which he loved. Long roads were his favorite. Since his wife and son had died, he was often on the road. Sometimes Jake just got into the car and drove off to nowhere. The road wasn't lit very well. It was a country road after all. It hadn't been rehabilitated since 1980. Now, in 2005, condition was already decayed by weather and because of the high frequency of truck traffic. Now, the trucks tried to avoid this road as much as possible because of poor condition. Many of the lights weren't working, and nobody bothered repairing them. Jake had to pay extra attention to the road and anything on the side. He didn't want to risk hitting a deer or wild boar. He reached a wooded area. I must be close, he thought. Pressed the gas pedal a little harder. After passing a dangerous curve, Jake spotted one of the light poles. Right behind the light pole, there was a sign which stated that there's a gas station about 1 mile down the road. He glanced at the instrument panel. It showed that there's still some gas in the tank. Glancing back at the sign, he saw that the light wasn't working properly. It kept fading and brightening again. It was a strange occurrence. Jake couldn't remember seeing anything like that before. Then his eyes caught something near his shadows. It looked like there was a person standing there. For a moment, he thought he saw a pair of circular red eyes. Or were they red lights? He slowed down a bit, but couldn't see more. So, he kept on driving. The front lights of his car flickered erratically, and he was in line of sight. They were even out for a few seconds, radio went crazy, switching channels in a chaotic manner, until he got past the sign. After about 30 yards or so, everything went back to normal. This strange event woke him up from his lethargic state. Jake thought that his battery might not be working properly. Faulty wiring combined with some interference might explain both of the phenomena. It was weird, however, that they happened at the same time. Coincidence like this had a tiny chance of happening. God, I'm tired, he thought, and sped up some more in order to reach the gas station as soon as possible. A few minutes of rest, he'll be on his way. Maybe a cup of coffee would be a good idea. Jake hoped to find a vending machine there, and if strange events won't repeat themselves, and it will be all right. Continue. The tired man kept looking around to see if he can spot anything unusual between the trees. He couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. There were only oak and maple trees everywhere he looked. Lush vegetation surrounded the road from both sides. The dark parts, though, made him feel uneasy. He had to slow down and drive with extra care when going through those parts where the lights were out. The gas station appeared in front of him. It was a well-lit place, but not big. In front of the station, where the pumps had been placed, was covered by a metallic roof supported by an old steel structure. He then stopped his red 1993 BMW at one of the pumps and filled up the tank. Another car was parked at the other pump. There were only 4 of them. When Jake looked inside, he saw a woman and a little girl through the windows. They were looking around as if they didn't know what to buy. He looked around again, but couldn't see anything. Lights were all bright around the place, so he wasn't able to discern much of anything far away. What he had seen earlier left an uneasy feeling inside of him. A shadow with a strange shape. Or was it his imagination? He got out of the car and pulled up the zipper of his leather jacket. It was a little windy around here. Autumn had already arrived, so the weather kept getting colder day. His legs had a hard time walking. He had spent a considerable time in a seated position, so his joints felt heavy and rusty. Jake wasn't too old. In fact, he was only 44, and still as healthy as a man can be at that age. The stubble on his face already turned into a beard. He hadn't shaved for a few days. His sunken cheeks and droopy eyes betrayed tiredness and past heavy encounters with the bottle. He filled up the tank, then went inside the station and bought himself a coffee from the vending machine. He waited for the clerk while listening to the pleasant music which was playing in the background. It must have been the radio, but he couldn't see where it was. Then the gas station clerk came to the counter a few seconds later. He was a tall black guy, also a little skinny. The man didn't look tired at all, maybe a little bored. He had thick lips and dark brown eyes, characteristic of African American people. Jake paid for the gas, and before he could leave, an agitated man rushed inside. He was in his 50s and sported an enormous belly. The blue baseball cap on his head was dirty and soaked in sweat. The man's hairy chest was heaving. Jake could see that because of the partially unbuttoned striped shirt the man was wearing. Hey, something's out there. What? There's something out there I saw. What's out there? I don't know. So what? Maybe it was a man. Yeah, but he was black. No shit. I'm black too, man. No, not like that. He was completely black. I'm completely black too. No, not like that. Look, about a mile from here, that way. Near the road. I saw it too. Look, I don't know what the two saw, but I ain't seen shit, right? So with all due respect, please stop talking crazy stuff. Scaring the lady and her little daughter. He pointed towards the woman and child. They were close by. The woman was nice-looking brunette with long curly hair and had a decent physique. He was talking to her daughter, who also had brown hair and an angelic face. The little girl looked about 10 years old. Look, man, I think that what we've seen was just a trick. No, it wasn't. Look, I saw it moving. The lights in my car went out. I barely got here, man. Couldn't see a damn thing. Come on, man. Cut the bullshit. We're all trying to get through the night. So please, calm your ass down. Just after the clerk finished the sentence, the lights on the road went out. They all threw concerned looks towards the road. See what I mean? Are you people satisfied now? Oh, come on. Them lights weren't repaired in 100 years. Damn it. Alright, then I'm out of here. Whatever that thing was, it's coming. Hey, was it beside the big road sign? Sort of. It was further down the road, by the light post, not far away from the sign. The light wasn't on. Probably wasn't working. Anyway, I'm not sticking around much. Crept the fuck out of me. The guy's crazy. But deep down inside, Jake knew that the other man was right. Yeah, man, but haven't you said you seen it too? Look, honestly, I don't know what I've seen. Jake didn't like this. There was one more person who had seen the strange apparition, and there might have been something there after all. He didn't see it well, and didn't want to draw a conclusion. Might have just been a prank by local kids. He remembered a story from the teens. What he saw earlier was eerily similar to that. A long time ago, he and a few friends cut a piece of cardboard in order to resemble an evil face. Then they folded it up to look like a cylinder. After that, they glued a piece of cardboard to the top and one to the bottom. It resembled a jack-o'-lantern in the end. They cut a hole in the back, put a candle inside. Then they stuck the thing on a tree in the park in their hometown. After nightfall, a young boy and girl came to have some fun where nobody could see them. When they noticed it, they got scared and ran away screaming. Jake smiled at the thought. He still saw their scared faces. It sure looked like one of those pranks. The woman and the girl just arrived at the counter, and the woman wanted to pay. Jake looked at the woman and her child. They both looked back at him, smiled. He did the same, then headed to the door. Don't even think about it, he thought. You don't deserve it. The little girl's face struck him. He resembled his late son, Clark. The girl had the same cheeks, very similar nose, and the look in her eyes, just like Clark's. She was smiling with her eyes too. She was beautiful. Her smile brought back some painful memories. These memories dated back 4 years, and Jake hated them as much as he hated himself. His wife and his son were no more because of him. Only death could save him, the guilt he was feeling. He didn't start a new life since their death. He couldn't. The road was his salvation when he wasn't working. Jake was driving because this way he'd avoid the damn bottle. He couldn't drink himself to death being behind the wheel. His life mattered little to him, and he didn't want to kill anybody else. Sometimes he was fantasizing about saving somebody else at the expense of his own life in order to die, at least, half at peace. Jake walked out the front door and saw the big guy driving out the station. He was driving an old pickup truck, and Jake was wondering how it was still in one piece and didn't fall apart 100 years ago. The man wasn't hesitating much. He must have stepped on the gas really hard because he was out of the road in no time. The fat man was speeding away, his decrepit excuse of a car, no working lights, and he disappeared behind the trees. He didn't get far, however, as Jake heard tires screeching and then loud crashing noise. Crashing noise was quickly followed by a harsh metallic one, then an elongated scream. Jake couldn't see anything because of the lush vegetation surrounding the station, but he knew it was bad. Rushed back inside right away. Hey, I think the big guy had an accident. All right, I'm coming right away, said the clerk. Grabbed the flashlight. He then ran outside, right behind Jake. The woman and the child remained inside. The woman didn't want her daughter to see anything related to an accident. Jake reached the man's fat car. It looked like the man tried to avoid something on the road. Something he saw too late. The car hit an enormous tree and now lay on the side of the road, smoking. The two men looked inside the car, but they couldn't see the driver. They saw right away that the steering wheel was bloody. It was an old car, so it most likely didn't have an airbag. I mean, even if it had one, it obviously wasn't working. They noticed that the right-hand door wasn't where it should have been. It was ripped out of its hinges and lying about 5 yards away between the trees. The impact didn't look so forceful for the door to be that far away. Even for a wreck of a car like a pickup truck, it appeared impossible. What the hell happened here? Look, man, I don't know. No sign of the fat dude. Both men then looked around the car and under it. The men even searched their surroundings, but they found nothing. Jake's guts twisting, turning. The sight of the red-eyed shape came back to him. If it were only for him to see it, it would have been fine. The really unnerving fact was that the fat guy had also seen something even closer to the station. What if that thing reached the station? Maybe the road lights turning off were a sign that it was here. Look, it's a mess, man. Yeah, but where the hell did he go? Look, I don't know, but let's not just stand here. I'm gonna call emergency. Yeah, that's a good idea because I heard a scream. That door, something took him. Yeah, man, something big. But I ain't gonna wait here to see it. All right, man, let's go. Let's get back inside. The men were heading back towards the station. Right before turning from the main road onto the driveway, they met the woman and her daughter. Hey, what are you doing? Not safe here. But Jake saw that they were both trembling. Mister, the lights went out. Yeah, thought it was strange, so we came outside. We didn't feel safe inside. We heard something. Yeah, there were sounds coming from the back. All right, look, let's get back first, and we'll see. They all went back to the station. The clerk was in front with the flashlight. The girls were behind him, and Jake in the back. For a short time, he turned and walked backwards. He kept his eyes on the road, but couldn't see a thing. The night was still, and nothing moved on the moonlit road. Not a car passed as he arrived. It really did seem like an abandoned road. He was wondering why the owner of the gas station hadn't gone out of business. It seemed that the owner made little money out here. Jake turned, found himself staring at the woman's hips. He liked how they swayed. She wore tight jeans, which accentuated her curves. A thin jacket made of some material which resembled leather covered the upper body. Beautiful woman, thought Jake again, then looked away, distaste. The distaste was for him because he began fantasizing about some woman or people dying. In the end, he thought, primal urges always win. My name is Curtis, by the way. Hi, I'm Jenna. This is my daughter, Claire. Not the best circumstances to make friends, huh? Definitely not. I'm Jake. Nice to meet you. Alright, I'm gonna check the brake panel out back. Alright, Curtis. I'm staying here with the ladies. Curtis went around the building, and Jake remained with Jenna and Claire. Little girl was hugging her mother. Jenna was keeping her hand protectively over Claire's shoulder. Jake then crouched in front of the girl, smiled comfortably at her. She smiled back. How old are you, Claire?
I'm 10.
Well, Claire, me and Curtis are gonna find out what's happening, and then... He couldn't finish because there was a loud curse coming from behind the building.
Motherfucker.
It was Curtis. Alright, stay here. Don't drive away because we don't know what's out there. Jake ran after Curtis and found him frozen, a blank stare on his face. When he turned toward the breaker panel, he saw what frightened the clerk. Blood and brains covered the panel surrounding wall. That guy's body was on the ground near the panel. His face was gone, along with about half of his head. Now they understood why there was no light at the station. The thing that took the man from his pickup truck brought him here, bashed his head to a bloody pulp on the breaker panel, which got damaged. What the hell? Asked Jake. He couldn't really say anything else. Look, this is why we got no electricity. Panel's broken. I'm calling 911. Jake and Curtis then ran back to the girls. They could see right away that something was wrong. What's wrong? Nothing. Come on, come inside, said Jake as calmly as possible. Oh, wait. What happened back there? Look, let's just go inside, please. The girls obeyed, and after they entered, they saw Curtis frantically buttoning his phone. Could somebody please tell me what's wrong? Jake then took her by the hand and pulled her away from Claire, and quickly told her about the body. She gasped in fright, but tried to muffle it with her hand. Jake told her they would try to call the authorities, solve the problem, without Claire knowing much of it. Protecting the little girl was imperative. He didn't want her to be traumatized at such an early age. Damn, my signal is bad. Here, let me try the landline. Picked up the phone, dialed 911, then waited. Somebody picked it up, then the line went dead. After a few more times, it worked again. The line didn't go dead right away, so he could speak to some extent, but then it went dead again. Did it work? I don't know. I talked to an operator, but I'm not sure she could hear me right. Let's hope they received at least where we are. So what now? We wait. For what? Can't even be sure if help is on the way or not. Because the thing that did Jake began, then realized it is a mistake and stopped mid-sentence.
What thing? Nothing, honey. Could you please help Curtis find what he was looking for? Yeah, sure.